Everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Lizzie once again, and I'm happy to have you guys back. Today I'm going to show you all how I carved this brows, and it's not difficult at all. If you're just watching me for the first time, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like and comment in the comment section, guys, if this video helps you in any way. So right now I'm going to pick up my spoolie. I'll pick up this spoolie. This brush is actually called a spoolie, and then my razor. So I'll be working with two things, a razor and a spoolie, and I'm using this combo razor. You could use any form of razor you have right there, as long as it's sharp and it's not blunt. So the first thing I'm going to do is to put the brow into a frame. I'm going to carve under the brow just to give it a very defined shape, and then I'll go above the brow again and carve the top of the brow to give it a defined shape. What I'm doing is just putting it into a frame. The brow itself has its own frame. We have the front of the brow, we have the arc. It's usually a little bit higher than the front of the brow, and then we have the end of the brow. So we have the front, we have the arc, which is usually a little bit higher, and then the end of the brow, which is always lower. So at this point, after putting the brow into its own frame, I'm going to use the spoolie to brush the hairs downwards. So the hairs that fall below the frame, I'm just quickly going to carve that out. I'm going to take it off. Yes, so I'll use my razor to carve out every hair that falls below the line, that is below the frame that I already made underneath the brow. So I'll keep using my spoolie to brush the hairs downwards so that I can easily carve out any excess hair that I don't want, any unwanted hair. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So you make sure that you keep brushing the hairs downwards until you discover that you don't have any excess hair falling below the frame that you have made underneath the brow. So once you're done doing that, go above the brow, brush up the hairs the same way we did underneath the brow, just that the difference is you're brushing the hairs upwards. So any hair that falls above the frame that you have at the top of the brow right there, make sure that you carve it off. Just take it out. The difference is that the one underneath the brow, you are brushing the hairs downwards, while the one above the brow, you are brushing it on top. You are brushing it upwards to carve out the excess hair that falls above the top of the brow, which is the top of the frame that you have made. So except you're only going to stop until you have a very, very beautiful brow. But if it doesn't come out the way that you should make sure that you keep shaping the brow so that it comes out perfect. So make sure that after shaping the brow, any hair that falls above or below the frame that you've made goes out. So that's how it's going to work, guys. Just make sure that you keep adjusting and adjusting until you have a perfect brow. And this is it, guys. Once you're done, you're going to discover that there's no hair that will fall below the frame you've done, and there's no hair that will fall above the frame that you've done. So while carving any brow at all, you want to make sure that you take your time in doing it. Do not go in too fast with your razor. Every step matters a lot. Every step matters a lot. So take your time to do it so that it comes out perfectly. If you go in too fast, you might end up overdoing it, so you don't want to go in too fast. So we're quickly going to move over to the other part of the brow, and we're going to repeat the same step. Number one, put your brow into a frame. Underneath the brow should be in a frame. Number two, put your brow again into a frame. Above the brow should be in a frame. Number three, brush the excess hair downwards. So any excess hair that falls below the frame you've done underneath the brow should go off. And then number 4, brush the excess hair upwards, and any excess hair that falls above the brow should go off. That's how it works, guys. So we are quickly going to do the same thing over again. So right now I'm just putting the brow into a frame so that it has a very good and defined shape, and I'm using my spoolie to brush the hairs downwards just like this. Take your time to do it so that it comes out really nice, and you need to make sure that you're as careful as possible so that you don't end up cutting your client. Yes, so make sure that you take your time in doing all of this and you're as careful as possible. So any hair that falls below the frame that we have just done, we are going to cut it off. So right now I'm carving the top of the brow into a frame, into the way that I want it to be. Not exactly the way that I want it to be, into the same shape that we did the first one. Because it's one thing to carve a brow, it's one thing to draw on it, and it's another thing to make a replica of it on the other brow. So we need to make sure that we do this perfectly. We take our time in doing this. So what I did was to carve the top of the brow into a frame, and right now I'm just brushing the excess hair upwards so that any hair that falls above the frame that I have right there, I'm just going to cut it out. So like I said before, guys, we have the front of the brow, we have the arc, which is always a little bit higher than the front of the brow, and then we have the end of the brow, which always goes downwards like this. This is the end of the brow, and the end of the brow is always very slim, not as big or bold as the front of the brow. So any excess hair, any unwanted hair that you feel is going to make the brow look bushy has to go off. So right now I'm just taking the excess hair out of the brow just to have a very clean and nice cut. So from this video you can see that we don't have any excess hair falling below the brow, and we don't have any excess hair falling above the brow. Whenever you discover that there's any strand at all falling below the brow, cut it off. If you discover that there's any strand at all falling above the brow, you need to make sure that you cut it off, and you need to make sure that the end of the brow is as slim as possible. Yes, guys. So while you're doing this, you also need to take note of the fact that the second brow that you are working on needs to be, they may not necessarily be twins, but they need to be sisters. So it needs to be, or it needs to look like the first brow that you've done. So while you're working on the second brow, make sure that you're looking at the first brow just so that they look similar. You need to make sure that you're comparing the both brows. If one is bigger than the other one, then it's something that you're doing wrong. You need to go back and adjust it so that they look similar, not necessarily like twins, but then like sisters, guys. So right now this is just about the end of the video, guys. Just this is what we've achieved. You can see how clean and how properly done the brows are. Once you're done, do not just leave the excess hairs that have fallen on her face just to be there. Make sure that you pick up a brush and then brush out the excess hairs that are falling on her lid, on her face. Make sure that you brush everything off so that she goes back home with a clean face. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is what we've achieved. I do hope that you loved, you enjoyed this video. If you did, I actually did myself. Yeah, I did. If you did, do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, like, share. There is someone struggling with this that really needs this video, guys. Please don't forget to share. Thank you all for watching, and I'm going to see you guys in my next video. If you've not turned on your notification button, please do that so that each time I post you get the notification and you'll be the first to know. Thank you guys for watching. See you all in my next. Bye.